Klain is running the show. Ron Klain is the chief of staff, and Susan Rice is the minister of propaganda, in the sense that Rice is the ideologue, the progressive ideologue, and Klain is the administrator. But the most powerful person in the White House is Jill Biden. So you don't get to talk to Joe Biden unless you go through Jill Biden. Very, very close to Nancy Reagan. And I wrote the book Killing Reagan. And Nancy, after Mr. Reagan was shot, she controlled access to the president. So does Jill. Now, Jill looks to me like to be a far left zealot. She looks like she's right on board with Rice and Klain and all these others, because I don't see any moderation in that White House at all.
I'm Dave Rubin, and joining me today is the host of No Spin News and the author of the new book, Killing the Killers, The Secret War Against Terrorists, Bill O'Reilly. Welcome to the Rubin Report.
Thanks for having me back, Dave. Appreciate it. How you doing?
Bill, I'm doing well. I have to tell you, as someone that just got my second book out, I am told, because I'm looking at the cover of your book right now, this is your 17th #1 bestseller. How many books have you written in the first place?
25, a lot of them children's books off the O'Reilly factor. But all of the Killing books have hit #1. And the Killing series, the Killing the Killers, is the 11th book in the series, the most successful nonfiction book series of all time. And that's pretty stunning when you think about it, and humbling for me.
For sure. What do you consider yourself first? I mean, do you consider yourself a pundit first or a journalist? Do you consider yourself a journalist in a traditional sense, or is it an author first? Does it matter what's first?
I'm a journalist / historian. Master's degree in broadcast journalism from Boston U, network experience at CBS and ABC, seen it all, 84 countries. So I'm a journalist first, but I bring a history perspective because I used to teach high school history. So it's an interesting combination. It served me well.
So let's, I want to talk about the book, obviously, but let's dive into just some of the stuff going on right now. Obviously, as we're sitting here, abortion and the reversal of Roe v. Wade is the big one. First off, are you shocked that, putting aside the decision, that we are not talking about the leak anymore, that seems to have come and gone and is sort of irrelevant at this point? Or at least in terms of what the mainstream media will discuss relative to it?
I'm not shocked, because you got Merrick Garland, the Attorney General. He has no interest in finding out who leaked that out from Alito's office. Garland didn't have any interest in finding that out because it would hurt Biden. And you have the head of the U.S. Marshal Service supervising it. No updates, no press conferences, nothing. And they're just hoping it goes away. I mean, look, we live in a country now where there really isn't a criminal justice system, or a civil justice system for that matter, anymore. It's evaporated. Now you have little fiefdoms all over the place, and the prosecutor in New York City doesn't want to prosecute somebody who stabs another person, then he's not going to prosecute. And the governors and the president and everybody else allows it to happen, so that's where we are.
You've been warning about this stuff for a long time. Do you ever feel, boy, I guess I was right? They said a lot of bad things about me, but I guess I was right about some of this stuff?
Well, when you're right, they're going to say bad things about you, Dave. That's just the way America works. If you're right, you're going to get hammered. I wrote a book called Culture Warrior way back. If you read that book, everything I said in that book, and that was a mid-2000, about 2004, I think, came true. I could see the trend way before it happened, because what we have is cowardly politicians. I mean, that's what it comes down to. 80%, maybe 70% of the elected people in this country are cowards. They're not interested in helping the folks. They're interested in maintaining their power. So when you have that, and you have an electorate that's largely uneducated, people don't know what the Constitution is. They don't know what it says. They don't care. They want to know what the latest tweet is or what's on Instagram, and they want to spend their lives here. This is where most people live now, right here in this little machine. I want to take the time to understand what's happening and why it's happening. And when you get a voting public like that, you get California, you get New York State, you get Illinois. And that's what we have.
So does that, what you're explaining right there, really is the perfect example of what's going on with the reaction to Roe v. Wade, that nobody really understands this is about states' rights and what is and isn't in the Constitution? And I guess to some extent, a certain set of the society just doesn't care what's in the Constitution. They just want it done their way.
Well, not just a certain portion of society. The Speaker of the House of Representatives doesn't care what's in the Constitution, nor does the President of the United States or the Senate Majority Leader Schumer. You think any three of those care what's in the Constitution? Everybody knew. Ruth Bader Ginsburg knew that the 1973 ruling whereby abortion was legal all over the United States wasn't based on the Constitution, because the right of privacy is never mentioned. Now, in the criminal justice system, you have a right of sanctuary in your home. The authorities cannot come into your home without a warrant, without probable cause. And that happened because the British, the king, they were kicking doors all over the place. So the colonists had no privacy at all. Here come the troops, boom, they'll take your house. But as far as abortion was concerned, it was never mentioned. And because it was never mentioned, it then falls under the 10th Amendment, as you know, Dave. And the 10th Amendment of the Constitution says if an issue is not clearly mentioned in the writings here, the amendments of the Constitution, the states then decide it. And that's what happened with Roe v. Wade.
So what do we do? What do we do right now if obviously everyone in my audience watching this and hearing you knows that's true, but what do we do if basically half the country, and as you just said, a huge portion of the political leadership simply don't care about the documents anymore? To me, this seems like a completely intractable impasse. You know, you can't negotiate with people that don't think that the basic founding, the basic documents are good or are worthy of paying any attention to or abiding by.
I agree that you can't negotiate with someone like Nancy Pelosi. I mean, her own church can't negotiate with her. She wouldn't show up to a meeting with the Archbishop of San Francisco who wanted to discuss her advocacy for abortion. It's more than I don't want to impose my view of abortion on others. It's way more than that. Nancy Pelosi wants as many abortions in this country as possible. Now, how you can be a Roman Catholic and hold that view? It's impossible. You can't. But she doesn't care what the church says, doesn't care what the Constitution says. She is in it for power. She understands her base is left, far left. She's going to pander to that base no matter what the issue is. She's like Biden. She has no core belief system at all, other than I believe in power and I want it.
So what do you do with these? What do you do in this situation? I mean, what are we supposed to do? We guys like us.
There's nothing you can do. 80 million
you just
people
live.
voted for Biden.
You just live?
Yeah. I mean, look, you could move, but where are you going to move?
Florida, my friend. Come on down. You're still in New York. Right.
But you're still in the United States.
Yes, this is true.
So if 80 million people are going to vote for a guy like Joe Biden, and believe me, if you go back and you look at what O'Reilly said in October before the November vote in 2020, I predicted everything that was going to happen because I knew this man was not capable of doing the job. He cannot do it. All right? And everybody has to understand that. He cannot do it. And so you're putting an incompetent, now you can say it is mental decline. I don't even get into that. I'm not a doctor. But I saw he couldn't campaign. He couldn't utter a cogent sentence in the debates. And I went, this is trouble. But the populace hated Donald Trump so much that they put Biden in office. And so now we're all paying a price for that terrible decision.
Who do you think is really running the show? I mean, it doesn't seem like you think it's Biden
Klain
himself.
is running the show. Ron Klain is the chief of staff, and Susan Rice is the minister of propaganda, in the sense that Rice is the ideologue, the progressive ideologue, and Klain is the administrator. But the most powerful person in the White House is Jill Biden. So you don't get to talk to Joe Biden unless you go through Jill Biden. Very, very close to Nancy Reagan. And I wrote the book Killing Reagan. And Nancy, after Mr. Reagan was shot, she controlled access to the president. So does Jill. Now, Jill looks to me like to be a far-left zealot. She looks like she's right on board with Rice and Klain and all these others, because I don't see any moderation in that White House at all.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about the media instead of nonstop yelling, check out our media playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, check out the full episode playlist. They're both right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.